I'm glad it says a tragedy in the subtitle because the scenes that unfold, they're quite heartbreaking. You know, Valentin returns home from battle. A few months later, he finds that his mom has passed on, his sister, she's pregnant, and the man responsible absconding. He makes some inquiries, friends and neighbors, takes note of their observations, tries to console his sister as much as he can. Well, to go back to that scene in Martha's garden, when Faust actually comes to visit them, he brings a lot of jewelry and expensive shiny gifts, And so when he asks her, "You think we could spend the night at your place?" The only thing that she can think of is the hindrance that her mom, who's ailing, might be disturbed. And Faust in response says, "Oh, no, 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 not to worry about that." He takes out a bottle of elixir, hands it to her, and says, "Put a couple of drops in her soup tonight, and your mom will sleep really well. She won't be disturbed by us." But as it turns out, there's a bit of excess sleeping compound in that elixir mix. And her mom goes to sleep and never wakes up, ever. Meanwhile, Faust the next morning wakes up, bids her goodbye, says he has to go out of town, and he takes off. Weeks pass, and the lights are slowly beginning to turn on in Marguerite's head. She's hopeful though. This part of Marguerite's life, in contemplation, melancholia, sadness, anxiety, has been captured by the art world through the depths of imagination. Like that piece by Schubert, Gretchen at the Spinning Wheel. Anyways, weeks and months pass. Valentin is back from the war, and Faust, he happens to be returning to the city. He's discussing a jewelry heist with Mephistopheles. They're walking towards Marguerite's home. We gather from the text that Faust is kind of feeling bad for Marguerite and he wants to bring her some jewelry, make sure she's financially secure. This is when he meets Valentin right outside the house. They draw swords and a duel ensues, back and forth. Now we have to remember that Valentin, he is an experienced soldier. He's got a couple of wars under his belt and he can overpower Faust in no time. But as they're fencing, Valentin is kind of surprised at Faust's maneuverability with the sword, And he realizes the hand of devil is at play, which is true because Mephisto is guiding Faust with his sword play, and they overpower Valentin, leave him mortally wounded right on the street outside his house. And so to escape the authorities, Mephisto grabs Faust, says, "Let's get out of here." And so they head off into the foothills. It's Walpurgis night. I'll read from the text translation. It's tragic. Martha and Gretchen, they come out of the house. Gretchen says, "What grief, oh God, upon my head." Valentin, "I'm dying." It's simply said, most simply brought about. Why stand there, cry and moan? Instead, come up and hear me out. And so the crowd gathers around this dying man. Valentin is convinced the devil has got a hand in this whole situation, and so we are led to believe that Marguerite is pregnant with a demon child. Now the crowd doesn't know about Marguerite's pregnancy, and Valentin spills the beans. This is what he says. "Dear Gretchen, you are young, my pet, and not half wise enough as yet. You're in a sorry way, I tell you, just for you and me." And then he goes, "You're a whore. What's there to say? It can't be helped, you see." Gretchen is astounded. Why would he do this? Gretchen says, "What cruel shame, my brother, oh God." Valentin, "Call not on the Almighty's name. What's done is done, alas and past. Now it'll go the way it must. With one in stealth it was begun. Soon there'll be some in place of one. And when a dozen's been with you, then all of the town has had you too." It's hard to imagine Valentin's despair, his condition, his last minutes before dying, He's an honorable man, but wasn't even killed in a fair fight. we see him struggling to accept his fate, the final reconciliation. These lines are worth mentioning because Martha, she sees all this spewing of, you know, stuff that's coming out of this guy's mouth. And she says, seek for your soul God's merciful ease. Why burden it more with blasphemes? Valentin, I think he kind of knows that Martha was sort of the enabler of this situation, and he bursts out in anger like a helpless man. If I could fly at your shriveled throat, you shameless, pandering nanny goat, forgiveness I might hope to win in heaping measure for every sin. Yeah, I think I should end it there. Oh, pretty intense.